Let's stay in Washington. This is an interesting one. President Trump is getting ready to host the first ever UFC fight on the White House South Lawn next month as part of the celebrations of America's 250th birthday. But another fight is shaping up over who is going to get a ticket, who gets a ringside seat. NBC News senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen has new reporting out on this, and he joins us now. John, good morning. All right, let's just back up and start with this event for people who have not heard about this yet. We know the president's a big UFC fan. He's calling this the hottest ticket. What is this going to be that's happening on the lawn?
First, Savannah, let me congratulate your producers on putting Sean Duffy and the reality TV series
back-to-back
story right back-to-back. Yeah, well done, well done. What we know about the UFC fight is this is a combination for President Trump of his birthday and America's 250th birthday. He wanted a big extravaganza on the South Lawn of the White House. That's what's going to happen. Roughly 4,000 tickets on the South Lawn. You've got an octagon and the accessories around it for the staging for the theater being built in Pennsylvania, in central Pennsylvania, being shipped to the White House. It'll take about a month to build that stage on the White House lawn. And this is an expensive thing. The UFC's parent company expects to lose about $30 million on it. At the same time, there are huge sponsorships going out. And as we report this morning, if you're willing to sponsor, become a sponsor of this event, you may get tickets. President Trump's going to handpick a lot of those 4,000 people.
Okay, yeah, so let's talk about who these people may be. You point out in your reporting, which I think is smart, is there's quite a bit of overlap between MAGA and MMA. Who does that mean wants to attend this event, and how's it playing out, especially if it comes with handpicking from the president?
Yeah, I'll try to separate out that alphabet soup there a little bit, but a lot of the president's fans are mixed martial arts fans. A lot of the people in the MAGA movement. This is one of the reasons, you see him attending those events and bringing some of his cabinet secretaries with him. I believe we've seen Marco Rubio next to him at UFC matches. We've seen Kash Patel, I believe, as well. So what he's going to do is basically pick out members of Congress, foreign dignitaries, donors, friends of Donald Trump, and give them these great lawn seats. There will be a public viewing on the Ellipse, which is just south of the White House lawn, on huge screens. The UFC thinks that there are going to be 85,000 people there. We'll see. 85,000 is a lot of people to get out on a June evening, but that's the plan there.
John, you also point out that more than just this one event or this fight night, that it's sort of there's something to be said about the way that the president uses an event like this in a way to energize his supporters, but also that has this sort of guarded access, who gets invited, hot ticket type of thing, and what that does for people who are donors in addition to just supporters. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I talked to Dana White, the UFC head at the White House Correspondents' Dinner a couple weeks ago. Said it's crazy, it's insane. People keep asking him for tickets, and he's given most of his to the president. I think he's retained 200 tickets himself, Dana White. But this is an access event. This is something the president has done his best to drive up demand for, and as a result, of the limited supply of tickets, he's getting a lot of entreaties, and his staff is getting a lot of entreaties from people with a vested interest before the government, and some people who are just friends, to try to get those elite passes to sit on the South Lawn for the first ever UFC fight there.
John, thank you so much. Really interesting stuff.
Take care.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.